Welcome you to the Ferris Network on television. Major breaking news tonight at home and abroad. The FBI now confirms that Iran sent stolen information from the Trump campaign not only to various media outlets, but also to the Biden administration directly. This coming from our partners at The Hill. This kind of qualifies as foreign election interference, does it not? We first reported the hack back in July. The FBI has not clarified whether or not any of the information was released publicly. Also, Donald Trump speaks to the massive crowd on Long Island in the next few minutes. It's supposed to start at 7 o'clock. We will bring you the rally as it happens. 60,000 people reportedly requested tickets for tonight's event. They started arriving early this morning for the rally. Trump says he has a chance to win the Empire State. That seems far-fetched. But he appears to have a slightly refined message after yesterday's town hall. We'll explain that and why it's significant. You see the 47 placards there for the 45th and then 47th president of the United States. And the White House says they want Israel to stop blowing up Hezbollah terrorists. Not really sure who the guy on the right is there. Today, radios belonging to the terrorist group exploded. Israel allegedly implanted tiny amounts of explosives in pagers, sold them back to the Iranian-backed group, and then blew them up yesterday. We'll tell you why Israel keeps defying the Biden administration and why not listening to the White House is probably good for the world. But first tonight, as we await Donald Trump, why Trump keeps doing better. And he is. Any fair analysis shows that. 48 days out, momentum might be on his side once again. New polling suggests Trump's immigration pitch is working. And safe bet, you are going to hear a lot about it tonight. As a Scripps News Ipsos poll showed, 86% of Republicans, 58% of independents, and 25% of Democrats support a mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Those are stunning numbers. Today in Washington, Kamala Harris tried to turn that into a negative.
We all remember what they did to tear families apart. And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation, in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be. How's that going to happen? Massive raids? Massive detention camps?
Donald Trump's team just sent that clip out as an ad. They love this message, and tonight, Trump will double down on it. Nobody in the crowd really believes he's going to round up all 20 million people in America illegally and kick them out. But it's much like building a wall. It speaks to the simplicity of a solution to a problem that people feel every day. People in Springfield, Ohio, too. Also in New York, the migrant crime wave in New York continues to dominate the news. It's a problem that keeps getting worse in New York, and Trump promises to solve it.
And on day one, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
We're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country.
Starting at noon on Inauguration Day 2025.
They're killing our people. They're killing our country. They're killing our people. We have no choice.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it is working. The idea of Kamala Harris is not working. The idea is proving not to be as good as the real thing. That's why her team keeps her on script and away from reporters. That is their media plan. We'll get into that a little later. Trump is filling the vacuum. In the new Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll, the Republican drew 47% of support in the poll, Harris 44%. Now, that is within the margin of error, but Trump is ahead. In 2020, the final AJC poll showed Biden leading by 1%. He ended up winning by 0.3. In 2016, Trump led by 2% in the final poll. He went on to win by 5. As we've shown you over and over and over again, despite what all the pollsters do, the polls undercount Donald Trump's support. That is just a fact. This doesn't mean Trump is going to win, but it means Harris isn't the foregone conclusion so many in her camp want her to be and need her to be to keep the narrative going. Chris Cillizza with us now, journalist, senior advisor for DGA Group, as we await the former president.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
You pointed this out in your newsletter. I thought it was so important. 86% of Republicans support mass deportation.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
58% of independents. Wow, that's a big number of independents
Totally.
saying to agree to such an incendiary sort of statement. 25% of Democrats support it, which says to me it's really 40 or 45% because there's a lot of Democrats who wouldn't admit that.
And to your point, I noted in there's been a couple polls. There was one in April, there was one in June, and then this most recent one. The one in June had the Democratic number at 42%, which I was really surprised by. Yeah, that's what jumped out at me. Look, as you were talking, Leland, I was thinking to myself, we were talking about the debate last week. And I said, essentially, like, every second that Donald Trump is involved in an abortion conversation, whether it's IVF or
you're losing.
He's losing.
Yep.
I said the exact same thing about Kamala Harris and immigration, right? Anytime even if she's talking about the things about it, like even if she's talking about accomplishments or whatever, you're always losing. And I don't mean losing among the base. Look, Donald Trump's not going to lose his base over his views on abortion. Kamala Harris is not going to lose her base over her views on immigration. And I don't want to say they're not important because they are, but this is 48 days. The votes that matter are people who are still undecided. And if this is an election that functions as an issue referendum on immigration and the economy, he is going to win. If this is an election that focuses on an issue referendum on abortion and or a personality referendum on Donald Trump, she is probably going to win. And I think that's where we are. That's what you need to watch. And so again, more immigration talk, Donald Trump, they love it. The more she talks about immigration,
right, the more Trump loves it. We put up this poll that has her up 6 points now nationally, which probably up 6 points nationally is where she needs to be to have a chance to win the Electoral College, somewhere right around there. All that said, if you go back and look at where she was, same poll to same poll, she really didn't get anything out of, quote unquote, winning the debate.
No, I think she's probably ahead. If we commission the 10 pollsters we think are the smartest, and they did 10 national polls, my guess is you would find her ahead from between 3 and 6. And that's not nationally. And that's, again, nationally, it's an electoral college vote, not a popular vote, as I like to remind people. I don't think that's materially significantly different than on September 9th. But I was nodding my head when you were talking about this as it relates to Georgia, because it's true nationally too, which is, look, what do we know about 2016 and 2020 vis-a-vis Donald Trump in the polls? In 2016, the final national polling average says that Donald Trump was going to lose to Hillary Clinton by 4 points. He lost by 2. Now, he did lose a popular vote, but he lost by 2. In 2020, the last national polling average said Joe Biden is going to beat Donald Trump by 8. He beat him by 4. Now, past is not always prologue, but if I'm a Democrat and I say, well, wait a minute, so he overperformed by 2 and then by 4, it would worry me that the pollsters still have not figured out that Trump vote.
Right. Now, he's rallying in New York right now. Nassau County, the North Shore, the uber-rich part. Yeah. I'm not an expert in New York geography, but I got a lesson from a friend earlier. The south part of Long Island that borders Queens, where he's at, cops, firefighters, contractors, on and on. There's no way he's going to win New York.
No, this is... Okay, so... I'll give you a preview of my newsletter that's going to come out in 20 minutes.
See, this is why you got to guess like this.
This strikes me as dumb, candidly. I get it. There's going to be a big crowd at Nassau Coliseum. It seats 16,000 people. My guess is Trump will say 55,000 people were there, whatever. The point is there's going to be a big crowd. He does have support here. We saw that when he did an event in Queens. We saw it when he did an event in Wildwood, New Jersey. Joe Biden won New York State by 23 points in 2020. Hillary Clinton won it by 22.5 points.
And Harris is only up 15.
But she's still going to win. Right. If she wins by 1, she still gets all of New York's electoral code. So I think it's dumb. I get why he's doing it. Look, he grew up here. You always care. I do. I grew up in Connecticut. I always care about if somebody from my hometown's like, hey, man, I saw you on TV. That's so great.
Right,
it counts as 10 times more than some rando telling me that. You always care about where you grew up. So I get it. And I get that it's going to make him happy to do it, and he's going to raise money, and maybe it helps a little bit. There's some congressional districts there that Republicans need to hold or win on Long Island. So there's some marginal effects, but if it's me, there's 48 days left, go to Pennsylvania, go to Michigan, go to Georgia. I think it's strategically dumb. I get why they're doing it. I wouldn't do it if I was managing the campaign.
Well,
of course, Donald Trump is managing the campaign.
The most important part of the thing you just said. Don't fall off the set.
I almost fell. These chairs lean back.
Young women are more liberal. You also pointed this out.
Yeah.
This move, 2001 to 2007, 28% of young women identified as liberal. Now 40% of young women identified as liberal. And there's also reason to believe those who identify as liberal means more liberal in 2024 than it did in 2007, sort of where it is on the spectrum. The thing we don't talk about is how many young men are going to be at that rally tonight.
And you know what? In that same poll, so it's Gallup polling. It's really interesting because they did 2001 through 2024. So you've got a ton of data. In that same poll, you would think, okay, young people are just getting more liberal. Right? I mean, I get that. But what's interesting is young women, 18 to 29, have gotten significantly more liberal. Young men over the last 7 years, less liberal, which is kind of, again, I'm always fascinated by these numbers. So that's, yes, young men, look, there's a reason that Donald Trump is doing.
So who's going to turn out more? And this is what we're going to hear from Donald Trump, right? Who is going to turn out more, the Swifties or the Kid Rock fans?
I mean, if history is a guide, women turn out more than men generally, and that's even more true of the youth vote. But there's a reason why Donald Trump is doing Theo Vaughn and doing a lot of these, for lack of a better word, bro-y sorts of podcasts. Who listens to those 18 to 29-year-old men? So he needs to bump that up because he is actually stronger among that group. And again, he's not going to win 18 to 29-year-olds. So but he just needs to lose it by less.
So the video in the bottom box right there, the video in the box is him at a Bitcoin
crypto
rally, crypto thing. Yep. We're going to take a very quick break. The president on stage when we come back. Back now, Donald Trump on the stage in Uniondale, New York, his first real rally since, and it's unbelievable that we are saying this, the second assassination attempt. We'll listen in.
Assassination attempt of my life. I didn't know I was going to say that. It was the second one in 8 weeks by a violent radical left mobster. This evil would-be assassin got within a few hundred yards of where I stood, but thankfully our outstanding Secret Service agent, and they are outstanding, spotted the barrel of his rifle in the bushes. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? He saw a barrel of a this was a big barrel. This you don't want to even talk about, AK-47. But he saw the barrel coming out a little bit out of the very lush bushes, and he took fast action to stop the gunman before I even entered the line of sight. And I want to express my thanks to the U.S. Secret Service, who was there that day, and to all of the sheriffs and law enforcement down in Florida, the heroes who helped to apprehend the attacker. And by the way, you possibly heard the story. So the secret agent, service agent, pulled out the gun and started shooting. He said, a barrel. He didn't talk like a lot of people. They talked. How are you, sir? What would you like to talk about? Would you like to talk about the weather? No, he pulled out the gun and he started shooting at him. And the villain, no, but think of this. This could only happen with a woman because men aren't smart enough, I hate to tell you, fellas. So he dropped his gun, his car was a block away, and he started running because they had him. And he was running, and a woman driving a car innocently said, he looks like a bad person to me. He looks very suspicious. And she followed him and pulled up to the back of the car and started taking pictures of his license plate. Can you believe that? And she took the pictures of his license plate, perfect, beautiful pictures like a professional photographer, and sent them to the sheriff and said, I just looked at a man, there was something strange going on. Who the hell would do that, right? Only a woman, only a woman. Well, then I asked the sheriff today, I said, so Sheriff, if you had 1,000 events, how How many people would have done that? Man or woman, how many people would have done that, followed him, taken pictures of the license plate and also the type of truck that he was driving? He said, maybe none. So she's a hero. I got to meet her. And because of that, they were then able to catch him in a very speedy drive down the various highways in Florida, but they got him, and they got him fast. But I think it's incredible. So the agent and that wonderful woman, and with all of my heart, I thank you all for your incredible valor. What you've done is incredible. What the people of our country and law enforcement does in this country is incredible. Tonight, let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris. Have you heard of her? Who, by the way, was just rated by far the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate, more so even further left than Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas. Pocahontas. She's more so. Elizabeth Warren, she's more left than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears, stop the lawfare or the fake lawsuits against me, and stop claiming your opponents will turn America into a dictatorship. Give me a break. Because the fact is that I'm not a threat to democracy, they are. They're doing things in politics that have never been done before in the history of our country. And worst of all, with their open borders and bad elections, they have made us into a third world nation, something which nobody thought was even possible. Americans deserve a campaign based on the issues. We try and keep it on the issues. And God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you. Not once, but twice. And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again. And maybe. And we're going to bring back religion into our country. Bring it back. These encounters with death have not broken my will. They have really given me a much bigger and stronger mission. They've only hardened my resolve to use my time on earth to make America great again, for all Americans to put America first, and to put America first. Earlier today, I was honored to receive the endorsement of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. I love the Teamsters. They delivered all that concrete for those buildings I built in New York. They delivered the big, heavy, most beautiful trucks you've ever seen. They delivered the concrete in all those buildings I built in New York. But, you know, this hasn't happened in so many decades. We won the overwhelming majority of the local chapters and the members, and as a result, the national organization has refused to endorse the Democrat candidate for the first time in many, many decades. And I also want to thank Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, amazing man, and all of the incredible rank and file Teamsters across the country, because this was a surprise It's automatic. They endorse the Democrats, automatic for many, many decades. But you know what? They said, they looked at her, they said, we're not going there. I'm sorry. These are tough people. And together we will secure our borders. We will protect our workers. We will defend our jobs. We will rebuild our country with American skill and American pride and American labor. Right? And just as a little side note, we should give them a round, especially because of what they and how they voted today. If they voted the other way, I wouldn't give them a round. But the Teamsters built out this beautiful stadium for tonight's event. Thank you, Teamsters. Thank you. Did a great job. To every hardworking American, whether you live in a red state, a swing state, or a state with a failed Democrat rule, this year we need to elect all Republicans up and down the ballot. We have to clean out and straighten out our country. With your vote, we are going to rescue our country. We are going to rescue our Democrat-run states. We are going to start by saving the great state of New York. Is that good? Told some people in Washington, yeah, I'm going up to New York, we're doing a campaign speech. They said, what do you mean New York? You can't ever, nobody can win. Republicans can't win. I said, I can win New York and we can win New York. We're going to win New York. And if you vote for me, I'm going to reduce your taxes, reduce your crime, and reduce your levels of stress, because you have a lot of stress. The only thing that I will increase are your incomes, and your love for your state will come roaring back again. Throughout American history, from generation to generation, New York has always set the standard for American life, and they have. It's been a high standard, too. Our cities were the center of business, arts, culture, our streets, ports, waterways, and they were the arteries of American commerce. They were absolute arteries. And our towns like Uniondale, Levittown, Hicksville, Huntington, these were great, great towns where you grew up and you loved and you stayed. But look at what has happened to New York and the other states, all run by radical left Democrats, every single one of them. Our heavy industries have exported overseas, and our middle class has been eviscerated, right here at home, been eviscerated. Housing costs are out of control. Inflation has cost a typical family $28,000. Think of it, in less than 4 years, $28,000. And we filthy encampments. We have horrible, disgusting, dangerous, filthy encampments of junkies and homeless people living in places that our children used to play Little League baseball, which they don't get to play very much anymore, do they? Over the past 3 years in New York City, there has been a 29% increase in robbery, a 36% increase in felony assault, a 42% increase in grand larceny, a 75% increase in carjackings. Did you buy a nice car lately? Well, 200 police officers leave the NYPD, New York's finest. I always say, I knew it well, New York's finest. They leave every single month, 200 people a month. Incredible people. They're incredible people. The trains and subways are squalid and unsafe. The median of our highway, all those medians, they spend all that money, they're falling down, they're rotting. Businesses are fleeing. The mobs of illegal migrants are being put up in luxury hotels at your expense, while our great veterans live on the freezing or steaming sidewalks right outside the main entrance to where the migrants enter their hotel. Think of that. Think of it. We have veterans lying on the street, squalid, lying on the street, sometimes freezing, sometimes it's hot, it's summer. And they're looking at people just came into our country, and they're going up to the 17th floor of their suite. How crazy has our country become? And can you imagine what those veterans, when they watch this, must be saying? But listen to this. Can you also imagine what the migrants must be thinking? They're saying, can you believe this? We just came from a place, in many cases, they were in prisons, and now they're living in hotel suites while our veterans are living on the street. And so I say to the people of New York, with crime at record levels, with terrorists and criminals pouring in, and with inflation eating your hearts out, vote for Donald Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Think of it. What the hell do you have to lose? You know, some of you remember that was a phrase that I used for our black population years ago in 2016. I said, with the worst housing conditions, the worst education, the worst this, the worst that, the most crime. I went through 12 different things, and it wasn't on the sheets. And I'm saying, boy, that's really terrible. And I said, and I was at like 2%, not too good. And I said to the black population gathered in front of me, vote for Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? I said that, same thing. And you know what happened? I got eviscerated when I went backstage. But I'm not like Biden where he takes, so I fight back with my people. Remember, we still signed the check. They said, sir, that's a terrible thing to have said. I said, when you said, what the hell do you have to lose? It's terrible, it's demeaning, it's horrible. I said, but it's true. You know what happened? The next day, I picked up 10 points with the black population. And now, because of all we've done, we're at the highest level of black support in the history of the Republican Party. And by the way, the Hispanic support, do we have any Hispanics? The Hispanic support is off the charts, and they don't know what the hell to do about it. It's off the charts. And we just had some great polling come out. I think the most accurate poll over the last 8 or 9 years was Rasmussen. They just came out with a poll that we're 5 up. We're 5 up. 5 up. We should be 35 up, to be honest with you. But, some people can't break an old habit. That's really what it is. So I say to you, vote for Trump, and I will turn it around very quickly with 4 more years of Kamala Harris. New York State will be like a third world nation if it isn't already. It is. I think it is. With Trump, the Empire State will once again be the envy of the entire world. We will have no crime, only success. And unlike your current radical Democrat regime, I'm not driven by partisan ideology. I'm driven by results, and I'm driven by New York common sense. It's common sense, right? Right? It's common sense. I like to say the party, this is a great party. I like to say the party is really, we're conservative and all that, right? Who knows? You know what we are? We're really people with common sense. We need walls. We need good elections. We want low taxes. We want great police officers that are well taken care of. We don't want to defund the police. We're the party of common sense more than anything else, and it's picked up a lot of steam. It's true. My first week back in the Oval Office, I will clean up and call up your governor and mayors all across your state, and I will tell them it's time to work together. They're largely Democrats. It's time to work together for the good of the people. Going to do it. And despite all of the persecution I've endured from the corrupt judicial system in New York, it's a corrupt system. I love the people of this state, and I want to give back. I want to give back to you. I've had a great life. I want to give back to you. We're going to give it back to you. We're going to make this city and we're going to make this state incredible again. Together, we will rebuild our roads, bridges, highways, and airports. They're falling apart. They're falling down. We will renovate New York subway. Oh, that's beautiful. I used to go to school in the subway. Can you believe it? I mean, I like to say it's not so long ago, but it probably is. What do you think, Bruce? I guess it is. But my parents would drop me off at a subway, and I'd go to Union Turnpike, or I'd go to wherever They had no fear that I was going to be disappearing. They would take me to a subway, put me on and say, bye, darling, bye. If you do that today, you have about a 75% chance that you'll never see your child again. What the hell has happened here? What has happened? We will renovate the New York subway so that the greatest city in the world finally has again the greatest transit system anywhere in the world. You have the basics. We have to clean it. We have to take care of it. We have to give it a little love. And we have to get the criminals the hell out of there. We will once again support our incredible police officers, New York's finest. A lot of them. You know, I've got the support. To me, this is so important. I think to you, it's every single police group in the nation is supporting me. The other day, the Fraternal Order, it's the largest. They gave us 400,000 police, and they gave us a unanimous endorsement. We have it from everybody. We have it from everybody. We will work with the mayors and the governor to rebuild your defunded and depleted police forces, including New York's finest and NYPD. Look, I know so much about it. I love New York's finest. I used to be in Brooklyn. I had an office with my father in Brooklyn. And we used to go in Brooklyn to a White Castle. Did anyone ever hear of a White Castle? And my father would say, no, that's the best place. Only 12 cents a hamburger. Remember? 12 cents. Bruce, we had Bruce. How good is Bruce? Bruce Blakeman, one of the greats. He won in an upset. You know, this is a Republican. He ran a couple of times. You couldn't beat this hoax of Democrats. He ended up winning. He's done such a good job. He's now unbeatable. They don't even run anybody against him. Great. Really great. We got a lot of them. Joe Cairo's here. Joe, are we going to win, Joe? What do you think? Joe Cairo. Don't mess with Joe. Right, Joe? We love you, man. Your family's great, too. But I will stop the Kamala crime wave, and we will do everything we can. We're going to get these violent criminals behind bars. We're going to get them out of our country. We're going to take them back to the country from which they came. A few months ago, I visited with the grieving family of a New York City police officer, Jonathan Diller. You know Jonathan Diller? I was hoping his family could be with us. He was just 31 years old, gunned down during a traffic stop by a vicious thug, leaving behind his incredible wife, Stephanie, and family, their one-year-old son. What a son. And are you here? Are they here? They could be here. Is Stephanie here? Because, you know, it was a bond, and she was so great, and I think she's here. It's hard when you have 19,000 people. And Stephanie, unlike a lot of my friends, doesn't want adulation. Honestly, what she wants more than that, she wants her husband back. That's what she wants. She doesn't want adulation. I have other friends, you'd find them. I have other friends, if you said their name, they'd be jumping up, here I am, here I am. Stephanie doesn't want that. What a great family, and what a great guy he was. The criminal charge was savagely murdering Officer Diller, was previously arrested by the NYPD 21 times, right? 21 times, Bruce. And the accomplice driving the car had been arrested 14 times, but he was actually much worse. He was more vicious. 14 times, but he was actually far more vicious. This is the kind of story we hear every single day under radical Democrat policies like cashless bail, cashless bail. You kill somebody and you're out on the streets in 2 hours. Cashless bail has been a disaster for our country. Kamala Harris wanted it no matter where she went. She boasted about being the leader of the movement of cashless bail, just like she led the effort to defund the police. You know, she was the leader of the effort to defund the police, and now she's running for president. But a little while ago, like everything else, no fracking, no this, she changed her mind. Now she says she likes the police. She can't say love, but she says like. She's made a lot of progress, but you know the first thing that would happen is she will go to defunding the police, if that's even possible to think about. But when I get back into the Oval Office, the madness ends and the law and order is going to return to our country. A fully reformed Federal Department of Justice will deliver massive public safety funding for New York and other Democrat-run cities that are under siege. But in exchange, they will give our police back their protection and their respect. We are going to take care of our police, and we're going to respect our police. Everyone here does. I tell the officers all the time, you have no idea how the people love you, but sometimes they don't feel it because of what the Democrats do to them. They will end deadly sanctuary city policies, they will terminate cashless bail, and they will return to proven policing methods like we had under Mayor Rudy Giuliani that made New York City the safest big city in America. Simultaneously, we are going to make life in New York State affordable again. Little word, affordable. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for 4 more years of job losses. Look at what's happening. Businesses that are fleeing, money draining out of your state, and hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants sucking your public resources dry. You know, I've always heard for 20 years, I've heard that New York City has no money, and yet they're going to spend $3 billion on illegal migrants, and they're not getting it from the federal government. You wonder, they never had money, but they have $3 billion to take care of people that came into our country illegally. Doesn't make sense. But under the Trump economic plan, we will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. Half! Because we have more liquid gold under our feet and we don't use it. We go to places like Venezuela when we have more than Russia. We have more than Saudi Arabia. You remember I got Anwar approved in Alaska. It's the biggest site anywhere in the world, probably bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And what did they do? In the first week in office, Ronald Reagan tried so hard he couldn't get it. I got it. The biggest site in the world, Alaska. And in the first week in office, they terminated it. We'll have it back very quickly, I promise you that. We will rapidly defeat inflation. We're going to bring your prices down. All they're doing is they've cut it, but you're up 55 or 60%. People that used to live a nice life 4 years ago, they can't afford an apple. A woman, they showed a picture of a woman the other day. I said, boy, that's sad. That should never happen to her. She went to the counter, the cashier. She had 3 apples. And when she was standing with the cashier, she realized she didn't have enough money for one of the apples. And she took the apple, brought it back, and she bought 2 apples. That shouldn't be happening in our country. That shouldn't be happening in our country. We will cut interest rates, cut insurance costs, and the insurance is horrible. And massively, we will cut your taxes again. I gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country. And we have some to go. Kamala Harris, as you look at her plan, will give you, very simply, the largest tax hike in American history. She's going to lift your taxes. This is the only person I've ever seen, and Biden too. They announce that they're going to raise your taxes, and it's supposed to be good politically. I don't think so. I don't know. I've never seen that, Anthony, before, where they say they're going to raise your taxes. They're going to raise your taxes. To vote for me, I'm going to raise your taxes. Can you believe it? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, because the news will say, vote for me, I'm going to raise it. They're going to say, they're going to attribute it to me. I can't do that. I told our great First Lady I will not be sarcastic anymore. When you joke or when you're sarcastic, the fake news will take a story like that. I'll say, I never said I was going to raise your taxes. Yes. Vote for me, I'll raise your taxes. Kiddingly, kiddingly, kiddingly. These people are the worst. When I imitated Joe Biden because he couldn't get off the stage. So I'd imitate him because he couldn't find the stairs. He'd look around. He finished the speech would last. The speech would last maybe 3 minutes, maybe a little less than that. And then he'd want to get off the stage, and it'd always go like this. But you remember, we're not running against him. We're running against somebody who's actually much worse. Ready? And he'd go like this. Huh. And then he'd walk in a different direction. It was the weirdest thing. And Secret Service did a great job. They'd come up in the stage and they'd pull him out. Like today, we have 4 or 5 stairs. You always have 4, 5, 6 stairs. The more it's government-owned, the more stairs you have. But you always have a lot. So I said to our great First Lady, who can draw a crowd? Did you watch me tonight on television, First Lady? People love our First Lady out there. Go out and get a book. She just wrote a book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great. And if she says bad things about me, I'll call you all up and I'll say, don't buy it. Get rid of it. No, but she said to me, I said, baby, did you see the crowd? We had 18,000 people. We could have filled it up 3 or 4 times. Bruce Blakeman said to me, if we went to a stadium or a park, we would have had 100,000 people or more. So I'd call up my wife and I'd say, baby, who could draw crowds? Nobody can draw crowds like me. Nobody, not even close. I'm the greatest of all time, maybe greater even than Elvis, because Elvis had a guitar. I don't have a guitar. Elvis had a guitar. I don't have the privilege of a guitar. But I'd say, baby, who could do it like me? Nobody can do it like me. How great am I? And she'd say, and she'd say, I'd say, how great was the speech? Not how good, how great was it? And she'd say, it was good, but your hair looked terrible tonight. Or the worst ever. So I said, how good was it, First Lady? And she said, it was good, but you couldn't find your way off the stage. I was imitating Biden, and they said I did it. I couldn't find my way off the stage. No, so you can't be sarcastic. Sarcasm with the media doesn't work, okay? It doesn't. So I've given up about 90% of it. I got all my friends here. Anthony, stand up. Anthony Lomangino, one of the greats of all time. He said, I have a big business problem. What? I have too much cash. I don't know what to do with it. I said, I've heard of worse problems than that, Anthony, right? He's doing good. He's a great man, great businessman, and a great person. Kamala wants income tax hikes, small business tax hikes, capital gains tax hike. How about the capital gains? She wants a tax, unrealized capital gain. That means she wants to give you a capital gain even if you have stock. She wants to give you a capital gain even if you didn't sell it. You know, I know a lot of people, they're very rich, but they don't have cash. They're rich, but they don't have cash. A lot of them. You know, it's like that. Farmers are like that. They have great land, great everything. They make income, but they don't have cash. And you know what I did for farmers and small business and the tax hike? And nobody talks about this. I got rid of the estate tax, so that, or the death tax, as they would call it, so that when you die and you pass it on to your children who you love, if you don't love your children, then it's not going to do you any good. And there are those. Does anybody in this incredible arena, they did a nice job, by the way, fixing it. I remember the old one. Does anybody in this incredible arena not love their children? Who in the arena is rich and will not leave their money to their kids? Because if that's the case, then what they did for you doesn't mean anything. Do I have any hands? 20,000 people and I have no hands. Okay, who wants to leave their money to their kids? That's good. Well, you know, in the old days, you'd leave the money to the kids, and what would happen? The kids would have to go out and borrow money. They'd lose everything. They had to borrow money from a bank at a high rate of interest. Now they don't have to do that anymore. Now you can leave your farm, you can leave your small business to your kids, but Kamala wants to end that. She wants to end it. She wants to raise your tax to a level that nobody's ever heard of before, and it's crazy. We will go in to a depression. I thought this was a wise guy coming up. This guy, I thought, I'm getting ready. I'm going like this. You know, I got a little bit of a yip problem here, right? That was amazing. I was all ready to start duking it out. I felt like my man in the front row here. Stand up, will you please? This is the toughest man. You know him? Do you all know? I'm going to introduce you later so you can sit. He's the toughest guy. If somebody walked on the stage, he wouldn't be afraid. He would already be attacking the poor guy. Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? It's the first time that's ever happened, I think. Is he new to the game? I think so. By contrast, I will cut taxes for families, small businesses, and workers.
Donald Trump on the stump in Uniondale, New York. Talk about a man who knows his audience, talking about the subway, talking about immigration, talking about taxes, three issues that New Yorkers know very well. He's also doing something that he has not done in a very long time. That when we come back, and why it should worry Kamala Harris. Donald Trump on the stump in Uniondale, New York. He's been going for now about 45 minutes in what has been probably the most disciplined rally speech I have heard from him in an awfully long time. Jasmine Wright with us, politics reporter at Notice. The Trump campaign seems to think they are doing better than the polls indicate, and the Harris campaign seems to think they are doing worse than the polls indicate. Why is that?
Well, I think that they both recognize, listen, they don't have much agreement on many things, but what they do agree is that this election is going to come down to the margins. And so polls that we've seen today with Harris +6, Donald Trump down 5 points, they're not necessarily using those to determine what they're doing day to day, because both sides recognize just how tight this election will be come November. Now,
I noticed in Trump's speech a difference. There wasn't the crazy conspiracy theories. There wasn't. This was a rally speech off a teleprompter. Now, it can go haywire at any moment. But has the Harris campaign developed a playbook for what if we get the more disciplined Donald Trump for the next 45 days? And he did something tonight that he didn't do last night. He kept talking about Kamala Harris, which they don't like.
Right, and I think that that's something that he wasn't able to do in the debate until the very last answer, because the Trump campaign wants Trump to cast Harris as somebody who is a communist, a Marxist, and just completely turn this country left. So I think that they are preparing for all scenarios. But of course, what their playbook is now is trying to contrast Harris's personality with Trump and show that she can be presidential while the former president cannot.
Right. Okay. So there's this issue of being presidential. There's also this issue of policy. We'll put a poll up that I think is one of the more interesting ones that I have seen probably this cycle. Scripps Ipsos poll, 86% of Republicans, 58% of independents, and 25% of Democrats support a mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Kamala Harris sort of made fun of that earlier today, and then Trump turned around and turned her words about him wanting a mass deportation into an ad.
Right. And I think that that is a powerful place for the former president to be, because the Trump campaign recognizes that he is strongest on issues like immigration and the economy. And in the inverse, the vice president's campaign recognizes that she is most vulnerable on the economy and immigration. That's why you saw her from the jump try to really get ahead of it and really cling to that bipartisan border deal that first President Biden wanted done along with Republicans. So I think we're going to see her, one, she's not going to move away from the fact that they don't believe that mass deportations work or is a real thing, but you're going to see her try to tack to the left on immigration because that's where they feel that the American left is.
Yeah, where they feel like they need to be. Fascinating. The Teamsters came out and declined to endorse anyone. Donald Trump views that as a win. He talked about the Teamsters at the very top of his speech. Jasmine, thank you very much. Good luck. We'll see you on the campaign trail. First time the Teamsters have declined to endorse since 1996. Donald Trump views that as a win. Chris Cuomo has Bill O'Reilly from New York next.